Hello and welcome everyone. I hope you all are fit and fine. Students, today we will begin with the new chapter, that is chapter number 3, Private, Public and Global Enterprises. Let us begin with the chapter now. See the first topic. The first topic is role of private sector versus public sector since independence. Here we will try to understand the role and the importance of private sector and the public sector since importance and the comparison between both. Okay. Now let us start with the first point. See, students, just keep on reading the point. I'll explain you all the points in detail one by one. Okay. Immediately after independence, government of India nationalized many enterprises and also established many new undertakings. The Industrial Policy Resolution 1948 and 1956 assigned dominant role of public sector enterprises. Many areas of business were reserved for public sector. Now, the entry of private sector was restricted in the form of licensing limits on expansion, etc. Now let us understand these three first. Students, we are talking about the scenario, okay, since independence. Okay, so after independence, what happened? Let us understand. Immediately after the independence, okay, immediately after the independence, the government of India decided to nationalize, okay, to nationalize few enterprises. Okay, so some enterprises were nationalized and some new enterprises were the some enterprises were nationalized which were already there, okay, which was already established, and some new enterprise or some new undertakings were established. Okay, so here after the independence, the government of India nationalized many enterprises and also they have established many new undertakings. Okay, many organization, many business, many plans. Okay, many things. Plants means the factories. Okay, here the power plants, etc. Those. Now the Industrial Policy Resolution of 1948 and 1956 assigned in the Industrial Policy Resolution 1948 and 1956, this was the policy. Okay, this was the policy regarding the industries and the business houses. So under the Industrial Policy Act, okay, under this resolution which was taken in 1948 and 1956, it assigned a dominant role of public sector enterprises. There was the dominant role of public sector, means public sector was given much weightage than the private sector. Okay, there was the dominant role of public sector enterprises. Many areas of business were reserved for public sector. Students, just focus on the words which I have underlined. Okay, so many areas or many or of businesses were reserved for public sector. So during that time, okay, just after the independence, much role, okay, much role was given to whom? Students, not the private sector but to the public sector. Okay, so they have the dominant role. The public sector had the dominant role, and many business houses or many factories, many organizations, many industries were reserved for whom? For the public sector. Okay, for the public sector. Now see the next point. The entry of private sector was restricted in those time. Okay, in those time there was restriction in the entry of the private sector. Okay, how the entry was restricted? Through licensing system. Okay, to in order to establish a new enterprise, they were asked for the license. Okay, in order to expand the organization, in order to establish the new organization, they require license. Okay, they require permission. So they were not free to establish any organization of their choice. Okay, so there was a restricted entry, okay, due to the licensing system. Now see the next line. In spite of restricted role of private sector, okay, in spite of restricted role of private sector, continued to grow and contribute in economic development. Okay, so here, in spite of the restrictions, okay, as you say, like as you have read here, that the private sector was restricted. Okay, restricted in the form of licensing limits on expansion. They were not allowed to expand much, or they were not allowed to open the new enterprise. Means they were allowed but some restrictions were there. Okay, licensing system was there during that time for the private sector, but in spite of those restrictions also, the public sector was growing very well that time. Okay, the public sector was growing, and the public sector was contributing in economic development, okay, development of our economy, okay, economic wealth. It was contributing much as compared to the public sector. Okay, now, in spite of giving priority to the public sector, this sector could not do much for the economic development of the country, as we have seen that dominant role of public sector was there. Okay, public sector were given more importance than the private sector. Many businesses were reserved for the public sector, but despite of giving them the freedom, despite of giving them the private sorry priority, the public sector could not perform well. Okay, they could not perform well, they could not do much for the economic development of the country, they could not do much for improving the economic wealth of the country, they did not contribute in the economic development as the private sector did, okay, during those time. Now, see the next point. That is why in 1991, the government of India adopted the policy of and liberalization in 1991. Under this policy, the private sector was assigned an important role. Many entry barriers on private sector were removed. Students, like 1, 2, 3, 4, in all these 4 points we have studied that the private sector is compared to the public sector. Okay, as we see that in after the independence, the public sector had the dominant role. Okay, they were having the important role. Okay, they were given much priority by the government, but in spite of that, the private sector was performing much better than the public sector. Okay, so after that, what happened? After that in 1991, okay, after that in 1991, after seeing these scenarios, okay, after the government saw that the public sector is not performing well, okay, the public sector is not performing well, okay, all the important powers were in the hand of public sector those time. Okay, but in spite of all the powers, in spite of all the freedoms, in spite of giving the priority to the public sector was not performing well. But instead of public sector, the private sector was the sector which was performing well, which was performing for the development of the economy. So after that, the government took some steps. Okay, so what was the steps of which were taken by the government? Let us see. In 1991, okay, in 1991, the government of India adopted the policy. Okay, they adopted a policy of liberalization and globalization. Okay, under this policy, the private sector was assigned an important role. So here, after 1991, the government introduced a new policy. Okay, so in that new policy, they talked about two things: liberalization and globalization. Liberalization means, student, what is the meaning of liberal? Liberal means to be free, freedom. Okay, liberalization. Okay, and plus globalization. Globalization means outward, global, to go global. Okay, globalization means here liberalization and globalization. Liberalization means whatever the restrictions were there over the private sector, those restrictions were removed, licensing system was removed, they were free, there was no restricted entry, they were free to establish the industries. Okay, now globalization, the private sector were allowed to set up their business outside the country, global, to go outward. Okay, so globalization was also facilitated during that time, and much role was given to the private sector under this policy act. Okay, now many entry barriers on private sectors were removed. Earlier you have studied, right, that the entry of private sector was restricted in the form of licensing limit. Okay, they were not allowed to expand, or they were not allowed to go global. Okay, so now after 1991, when government introduced a new policy of liberalization and private globalization, under that many entry barriers of private sector were removed. Okay, the restrictions were removed, and the private sector could establish new industries now, and they could also globalize their industries and the businesses. Okay, now the industrial licensing was abolished except in areas related to security and strategic concern. The areas reserved for public sector was reduced. Okay, so students, the industrial license was abolished. Okay, so as we studied that here the licensing system was there. Okay, so that system was completely abolished. There was free entry of the private sector to set up the business. Okay, now student, one more thing you need to keep in your mind, that in previous, okay, in there are two phases. Okay, in the first phase we have seen that the public sector were given more important. Okay, but in the second phase when the government realized that the public sector is not working properly, then they shifted the power of the public sector into the hands of the into the hands of the private sector. And then they removed many barriers, the restrictions. They went for liberalization and they went for globalization too. Okay, but all the types of industries were not given in the hand of private sector. Some industries were there. Okay, some areas were kept only to the public sector, like the security and strategy, like your railway, it is still in the hand of public sector. Like your army, like defense, it is still in the hand of public sector. Your nuclear weapons, okay, atomic power. So these are some areas where the public sector still have the power. Okay, so in this area the public in these areas the private sectors were not given the chance to enter. Okay, except the areas of security and strategic concerns. Okay, except these areas, in all others area the government made the entry of the private sector, okay, to be free. Now the areas reserved for public sector were reduced. So now after the entry of after the entry of private sector, the area reserved for public sector were reduced. Okay, now since the Indian economy consists of both privately owned and government owned business enterprise, it is known as a mixed economy. Our country, India, is known as mixed economy country. Why? Because we here practice both, and here the government, or here the in like since the in see the point, since the Indian economy consists of both. Here the Indian economy consists the both privately owned and government owned business. Here the government supports both the privately owned and the government owned business. That is why our economy is known as mixed economy. Okay, so here you studied about the role of private sector and the role of public sector since independence. Okay, now let us see the Indian economy, the mixed economy. Indian economy is known as the mixed economy. Okay, so Indian economy is categorized into two, the private sector and public sector. So students, in the previous chapter, in chapter number 2, we have studied different types of private sector enterprises. In this chapter we will study about the different types of public enterprises. Okay, so let us quickly revise. In previous chapter we have seen different categories of private sector. We have seen sole proprietorship, partnership, joint Hindu family business, cooperative business, and joint stock business. Okay, multinational company is also the part of this. Okay, but this time this is not in the syllabus, so we'll not study this. Okay, so public sector consists of departmental undertaking, public corporation, and government companies. Okay, so students, in this chapter we will study about different forms of organizations under public sector. Okay, there are three different types of organization under public sector. What are the three different types? First is departmental undertaking, second is public corporation, and the third is government companies. We will study about all these things in detail. But before we start, let us first understand the meaning of private sector enterprises and public sector enterprises. Students, private sector enterprises, read the explanation. It consists of business owned by individuals or group of individuals whose main objective is to earn profit and growth of business. For example, Reliance Industries Limited, ITC Limited, HDFC Bank Limited. See, private sector enterprise are the enterprises which are in the private hands and not with the public, means not with the government. Okay, these are not public enterprise, these are not under the government. Okay, so private enterprise are the enterprises or the businesses which are owned by the individuals. Individual can also run a private enterprise or group of individuals. Okay, now what is the main objective of setting up a business. The main objective is to earn money, is to earn profit and to grow their business. Once the business starts to earn money, definitely it will grow the business, it will expand the business in the coming future. Okay, so private enterprises are the business enterprises which are not under the government control. These are the enterprises which are owned by whom? These are not owned by the government, these are owned by the individuals, by a single individual, or it can be owned by group of individuals. And what is the main motive of this business? Is to earn profit and to grow the business. Okay, so some example of private sector enterprises are like your Reliance Industries, ITC Limited, HDFC, many more are there. Okay, so these are the private sector enterprise. Now coming to the public sector enterprise. Public sector enterprise, students, are the enterprise which are under the control of the government. Okay, these are not the private sector, these are not under the hand of private sectors. Now see the explanation. It consists of various organization owned, managed and controlled by central or state or both by government. Students, public sector enterprises are the enterprises which are owned by the government. Means not only owned by the government, it is owned by the government, all the activities are managed by the government, and all the control power is in the hands of the government only. Okay, now it can be controlled by central or can be state. Okay, so public enterprises can be central or can be owned by the central government also, or state government, or can be by both central or state, mixed. Okay, so these are known as public sector. So this is known as public sector enterprise. There are many examples of public sector enterprise. See this, Indian Railway. Okay, as I told you earlier also that Indian Railway is still under the public sector. Indian Post, Doordarshan, Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, which is also known as BHEL, etc. Okay, so these are the public sector enterprises. These are the examples of public sector's enterprises. And what is the main objective of public sector enterprises? The main objective of public sector enterprises is to do public welfare or services, to provide services to the people. Okay, to think about their welfare. Okay, so here it is very simple to see the difference between both. Private sectors are the sector which is owned by individuals or which are owned by the group of individuals, but public sector are the sector which are owned by the government. Okay, these are managed, controlled by the central government or either by the state government or by both. Okay, and what is the main motive of private sector? They are the one who think about earning money, their profit. Okay, they think about themselves. So the main motive is to earn profit and grow their own business. But what is the main objective of public enterprise? Public enterprises are the enterprise who work for the public, who work for the general people. So their main objective is to do public welfare and to provide the services to the general public. Okay, so some of the examples of public enterprise and private enterprises are here. Okay, like I gave you previously. Okay, so this was all about private sector and public sector. So let's move to the next topic now. The next topic is forms or types of public sector enterprises. Students, as I told you earlier also that in previous chapter, in chapter number 2, we studied about different types of private sector enterprises. Okay, we have studied 5 types of private sector enterprises. Now, in this chapter, we will study about different forms or different types of public sector enterprises. Okay, as I told you that there are 3 types of public sector enterprises. What are they? First, departmental undertaking. Second, public or statutory corporations. And third, the government company. Okay, so these are the 3 forms of public sector enterprise. We will study about all these 3 types in detail. Now, beginning with the first one. The first is departmental undertaking. See the explanation, student. Departmental undertaking. These are established as departments of the ministry and are financed, managed and controlled by either central government or state government or jointly by both. For example, Indian Railway, Indian Post, Telegraph, Doordarshan, Prasar Bharati, etc. Students, departmental undertaking means these are generally the departments. Okay, government departments. Okay, so government department undertakings are generally these are established at the department. These are the government departments, okay, public departments, which are also known departments of ministry. Okay, so these are the department undertakings, or these are the government undertakings which are generally in the hands of government only. Okay, so these are owned by the government, these are financed by the government. Means the owner, who is the owner? The government is the owner. Okay, it can be, it can be by the state government, it can be by central government, or can be by both. Okay, now it is owned by government, it is financed by government. So whatever the financial resources or whatever the finance the department undertakings require, so those finance are also provided by the government. Okay, now the government only manages the activities of the department undertaking. Okay, now the control power is also in the hand, is in the hand of government. Okay, so here it is said that departmental undertaking, the what is departmental undertaking? Departmental undertakings are the undertakings, or are the departments which are established as department of ministry. Okay, these are established as a department, okay, ministry, as a department of ministry. And these are the government departments, so these are the undertakings which are actually owned by the government, that you know very well. And these are financed by government. Government finances it. Okay, they provide the financial resources, they provide the money, whatever is required for the development and for the work purpose. And they are the one who manage the activities of the department undertaking. And government is the one who have complete control over these departments. Okay, these government departments. Okay, now the control can be in the hand of central government, or the state government, or jointly by both. Okay, so some example of the government undertaking are, see, for example, Indian Railway. Okay, these are under the Ministry of Railway Department. Okay, so these are departmental undertaking which have their separate departments. Okay, they have their own department of ministry. Okay, like the Indian Railway comes under the Ministry of Indian Railway, Railway. Okay, in the same way, the Post, the Telegraph, Doordarshan, Prasar Bharati, these are the one who have their own department of ministry. Okay, so this is what department undertaking is. Now let us see the features of departmental undertaking. Students, it's very simple and it's very easy to understand. Okay, see the first feature, overall control of government. As I told you that the complete power, okay, overall control power, decision making power, control power is in hands of whom? The center or the state government, or by, or jointly by both. Okay, control power is in the hand of central government or in the hand of state government, or it is managed jointly by both. Okay, now there is no separate legal entity, they are part of government. As I told you, there is no separate legal entity. No separate legal entity means you will come across these terms again and again. Okay, separate legal entity and no separate legal entity. Separate legal entity means here the owner and the manager is same. Okay, it means it is owned by the government and plus it is managed by the government. So there is no separation. Okay, so there is no separation, both are same. Okay, so that is why it has written it has no separate legal entity, it has no separate legal identity, because it is owned by the government, it is managed by the government, and these are the part of the government only, they are not different from them. That is why it is known as it has no separate legal identity, the identity is same. Now it is fully financed by government. As I told you, whatever the financial needs are there for this department, these are fulfilled by the government only. Okay, through the annual budget, when the annual budget is made, so in the annual budget they actually fix the financial, okay, how much finance they are how much finance they are allotting to which departments. Okay, so these things are fixed in the annual budget, that how much finance they require and how much finance should be allotted according to the requirement of the departments. Okay, so it is fully financed by the government. Okay, whatever the finance they need, whatever the finance which are required, whatever the finance the department require, okay, in order to work, in order to carry out the activities, in order to grow the department, in order to carry out the developmental process, anything, these are all financed by the government only through annual budget. Okay, now revenue get deposited in government treasury. That's very obvious. Okay, this is the department undertaking is a government owned undertaking. Okay, it is managed by government, it is owned by government, it is financed by government. So whatever the revenue these departments will earn, like for Indian Railway, Indian Post, these are the government undertakings, right? These are the government departmental undertakings. So whatever the revenue they are earning, whatever the income they are earning, whatever the profit they are making, these all revenue will be deposited where? In the government treasury. It will go directly to the government. Okay, now it is operated by civil servant. Who are civil servant? Those who have cleared the civil service exam. Okay, those who have cleared the civil service examination. Okay, civil service examinations, and those who are in the administrative post. Okay, like your administrative officers. Okay, so these are generally operated by your civil servants. Okay, the civil servants who actually were recruited through the civil service examination. So they are the person who actually work under these departments. Okay, so civil service, they are the civil servants. Okay, they are recruited and compensated as per the rules of civil servants. Okay, they have recruited through the civil service examination. Right, now the next is direct control of concerned ministry. Like, it's very common, students. It is a direct control of control ministry accountable to concerned minister. It means that, see, if any wrong thing happens in railway, okay, so they have to be accountable in their department itself. Okay, so whatever the problem is, means जहाँ जिस डिपार्टमेंट से वो बिलोंग करते हैं उसी डिपार्टमेंट को ही वो आंसर करेंगे फॉर एनी मिस्टेक और एनीथिंग. ओके, दे आर अकाउंटेबल टू देयर ओन डिपार्टमेंट. ओके, सो they are under the direct control of their departmental head. Okay, who is accountable to the concerned minister. Okay, now they will be answerable to the railway minister. Okay, if something went wrong in the Indian Railway, so who is accountable here? They are under the direct control of the departmental head, right? Who is accountable to the concerned minister. Now they are working under their head. Now that departmental head means the railway department head. The railway department, the employees are working under the departmental head. Who is the departmental head here? The railway department. Okay, we are taking the example of railway, so employees are working under railway department. And who is the head of the railway department? Like, who is the head? The departmental head. Some head will be there. Now that head is accountable to the concerned minister. Concerned minister means which concerned minister? The railway minister. So whatever things happen, they are accountable to the concerned minister. If something went wrong under the Indian Railway, then they are answerable, they are accountable to whom? They are answerable and accountable to the railway minister. Who is the railway minister? To them. Okay, now the last is can be sued by the procedure of suing the government. Okay, if any wrong happens, then the government, or they can be claimed, or these departments can be claimed, or this department can be sued, or they can, or cases can be filed. Okay, it sued means what? Cases can be filed against those departments. If suppose we take the example of railway department. Okay, if something went wrong in the railway department, then the government, okay, the government, under the whatever the procedures are of the government, under that they can claim or file case against that particular department. For example, railway department, so they can file the case, and case they will file the case against that department according to the government rules and regulation. So these are some of the characteristics, features of departmental undertaking. That's it for today. We will continue with the further topics in our next class. Till then, thank you.